Oh, here comes a cast with two nerdy dicks who talks about some shit. Movies, games, TV, and more, complete with snarky quips. One is a pasty heavy man, the other is fat too. True, they have opinions on some things that barely matter to you. Matter to you. Important topics is not enough to quench their dorky minds. If not for the trove of geeky stuff, they'll get off their behinds. Right off their behinds. They miff and scoff and huff at this unwanted work lifestyle with Anthony, Nicholas too. Couple of beers and two mics. A moody start to this podcast and a hairy hand here at the Corners Live. Welcome to the Corner. I'm your host and resident voice, Anthony Cruz, and with me is the incredibly attractive
Nick Portella.
And we're back again with another session. It's cards on the table. We got to talk about
Suicide Squad.
Definitely, man. It's the hot new movie. It's out, and reviews are flying left and right. And it's only fair that we give you our review. It doesn't mean shit, but we'll give it to you anyway.
Yeah, not that you care, but you're gonna hear it anyway.
You didn't ask for it, but fuck it, we're gonna do it anyway.
But we're smart. We know what you need before you need it, so that's why we're doing it for you.
Yeah. So and we're not. This is us from the past talking to you, in the future. So the future you'll be like, well, I already seen the review. I already know what's gonna happen. But don't worry about it.
Give it a shot. Hear us out. We're the good thing about us is we give you a review. But we're going to give you an honest review. We're going to give a review that shows both sides. It's not just going to be, oh, it sucked or it was awesome. You're going to get the good and the bad, and you can make up your mind for yourselves.
And, and if that doesn't float your boat, you could just listen to my sweet, sexy voice.
The smooth sounds of Anthony Cruz.
Smooth and sexy. It's going to get sexy up in here, I might let the little R's roll off my tongue.
He might go, my name is Anthony Cruz.
Cruz. So,
Nick Portella.
And then you also got to forgive us because we're doing it at 10:30 at night. I'm working off a 3-hour sleep. We had a long day, and I'm a little delirious right now. So you know what? And I had some beer.
Oh, that's a perfect time to do a podcast.
So I'm drunk and delirious and tired.
That's awesome. That's the best time to do anything.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's like getting the best parts of being high without having to be high.
Yeah, it's like you're high, but you'll pass a drug test anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. Don't check my blood alcohol level.
Yeah, no, he'll fail that miserably.
But
even though he drove home, but we'll leave that alone.
We won't speak about that. Shh. Just you, me, and the one other person that listens to this podcast. So what's going on with you? Let's talk about with you. How you doing?
I'm good. I was looking forward to this movie, actually. That was something that I was looking forward to all week long. I was really looking forward to just seeing how this was going to play out. I know it's going to fit in. I knew it was going to fit into the continuity of the Batman, Superman movie, and, of course, the upcoming Wonder Woman and Justice League and everything that they're trying to do. So I was just very curious to see where this was going to fit into all of that. That was something else. And I was looking forward to, honestly, we've been talking about it a lot over the course of the week. I was looking forward to seeing this interpretation of the Joker. Even though I know the Joker's not the main star of the movie, I was very curious. We were all curious to see how this Joker would play out. Yeah. So, and looking forward to it.
And just as I said it before, you gotta remember that I have been saying that it was good that they started showing Joker in the commercials way in advance because. If they would have kept him under wraps or let out very limited information about him or how he looked, and then we would have saw the movie, we would have been like, what the fuck? But instead, we got desensitized to his new look and to Jared Leto's interpretation. So that by the time we went to the movie, we're either curious to see his take on it, or we're like, okay, that's what it is. We're gonna just take it for what it is, and that's it. So however you went into the movie, Jared Leto's Joker actually was one of the finer points of the movie.
Oh, I thought so. We were talking about this earlier. There's two ways to play the Joker. We've seen it in the comics also. You have some writers that have written the Joker very much like the Joker you see in The Killing Joke or in The Death in the Family. That just completely psychotic Joker that needs not rhyme nor reason to do anything, right? Then you have the Joker that's still crazy, but a little bit more of the gangster, more of the clown prince of crime, which is one of his many nicknames that he has. You know, you get it's almost like two different Jokers depending on who's writing.
And you get that.
And you get that here.
Clear
you
cut.
get more the clown prince of crime,
yeah,
as opposed to the Heath Ledger Joker that's just completely insane.
He's like a force of chaos.
Yeah, well, in the movie he says that, and I remember in that Dark Knight movie he says that he's an agent of chaos.
Yeah,
that's what he is. He lives for chaos. This Joker is definitely out of his mind. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing normal about this guy at all, but he's a little bit more controlled. You can see that this is a Joker that cares about money and power.
Yeah.
You know, that's really his end game.
And we haven't had that since Jack Nicholson.
Exactly. So this is like a more exaggerated take on the Jack Nicholson Joker.
Like you could take the wow, you know what? Like each version of the Joker that was presented to us in all the iterations of the movies are starkly unique. I mean, you can pull comparisons between Jack Nicholson and Jared Leto's character for the fact they're very gangsterish. But that's where the similarities stop, really.
Absolutely true. I agree with that.
I mean, look, back then they didn't even have a Harley Quinn. That came after the movie. So it wasn't like they could have played off that. But just, you know, here it is. You got Jack Nicholson hamming it up, chewing the set. And then you have this Jared Leto who plays like a very more playful version of the Heath Ledger. Like, it's weird. Like, it has a mashup of both.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. I think he is a soft combination of Heath Ledger's Joker and Jack Nicholson's Joker. But leaning more toward the Jack Nicholson, I think.
Yeah.
He definitely...
With the exception of the few where you see him where you don't know what he's going to do.
Oh, yeah, there are definitely those moments in here that you're looking at him and you're not quite sure what his next action is going to be. The only thing you do know is that it's going to be violent. You know, that's another thing I like about this version of the Joker. There was an undertone, there was a certain sense of just pure violence about this guy. And he didn't do anything in the movie that was super duper violent. And he had his little moments, but there was nothing in there that was really over the top as far as the violence goes. But there was an underlying, you know, thought. Like there was an underlying tone that this Joker could just usher in raw brutality.
Yeah. I mean, it speaks volumes to a film that can do that and give you that sense of, like, here it is, we have a Joker who's extremely volatile and are prone to just insane acts of brutality. But they don't have to show it. They could just give you the subtleties that hint you to that.
Absolutely. And again, you know, this is another movie that I'm not quite sure what they were thinking making this PG-13. I really thought that they should have shot for a rated R with this movie because you're dealing with bad guys.
Well, I mean,
you're dealing with killers. You're dealing with. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I mean, I don't like. I've said it before. Don't slap a rated R in there for the sake of a rated R. I mean, I think they were able to get the point across about who these people were without going the extra mile. Like, I mean, having a rated R does give you some leeway to kind of push the boundaries, but you have to ask yourself: is it really necessary for what you're trying to tell? Like, you can like. Look at, in the case of Spawn. When Spawn came out, it was PG-13. They said, oh, well, let's have a rated R version out there for the people. And what was the difference between the two movies? One fuck.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That doesn't constitute a dramatic change in your script. If you feel like you got to go rated R, then you got to know what you can push the boundaries on and show that. Shoot additional scenes that would have otherwise bumped it up to a rated R. As long as it fits within the context of the story. But if you're gonna roll back and say, well, you know, we'll throw in a couple extra fucks, because that's what Batman v Superman to me felt like. You threw in a rated R version, but you only added like a fuck here and a fuck there. That doesn't do it for me.
Really, not in that extra 30 minutes of content. You didn't find anything that could have warranted a rated R.
Nah, not really. Not really. But I mean, like. Pick and choose. I find myself a little more desensitized than the average person. I can see some fucked up shit and be okay. But, I mean, yeah, maybe somebody will see it. But look, even The Killing Joke, that came out, that was rated R. And I didn't see anything that made me go, oh, all right.
Well, I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that you and I grew up during the 80s. And the 80s was a time when almost every action movie was rated R.
Yeah.
Right? And their rated R's were mean, hard rated R's. You saw dismemberment, you saw nudity, you know, that everybody spoke like a sailor.
I'm gonna give you
it's different. It's a different time.
I'm gonna give you one name, and it's 3 syllables. RoboCop.
I was just thinking that. You read my mind. I was just thinking that because RoboCop is about as hard of an R as you can get, especially part 1. Part 2, you know, had its parts, but nothing like 1. 1 was raw. 1 was mean. You're talking nudity, drugs, sex. I mean,
and there wasn't a ton of nudity. Maybe
a pair of
titties here and there.
But there was so much violence, just raw
violence,
blood and violence.
And blood. I mean, that whole gratuitous scene when they shot up Murphy, or even the scene when Ed 209 shot up the dude in the corporate room. The extended version, the director's cut, had like an extra 30 seconds of just blood spurts, like the blood packs that explode. Like, it was gratuitous.
Well, listen, man. You know,
that should have been in C-17 with that much blood.
Taking it back to Murphy, what they did to that man, holy shit.
Yeah, like, you know, you watch the updated version of RoboCop, and I mean, it has some merits. I'm not gonna totally shit on that movie. I knew it wasn't gonna spawn a new franchise or a new rebirth of the franchise where you get more movies with them, but when you hack up somebody's origin the way you did in that movie, that's almost grounds for dismissal. Like here it is, he got blown up. All right, so he got blown up. It's you PG-13 the freaking thing. Here, this guy was executed at point blank range, and it wasn't one shot. It was many, many, many shots. Blow up his hand, blow up his knees, blow up. The guy went through torture before he essentially died. You know what I'm saying? In this moment, the guy opened up the car and the car exploded. I bet you he didn't even feel the pain.
It happened. Just knocked him unconscious.
He felt pain. He felt pain after when he woke up.
Definitely.
Because the fuckers didn't let him die. They kept him alive. Let him freak out by seeing his own lungs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was rough. I mean, now it's just a different time. We live in a different time. You know, rated R now, even the hardest rated R movies now don't add up to the rated R movies you and I grew up with.
No.
They don't. Do I think that, going back to The Killing Joke, do I think that The Killing Joke had to be a rated R?
Although
I get why, only because of certain scenes, and those scenes bump it up to an R.
Although some things get a pass in modern day. You look, say what you will about Punisher Warzone. For me, that was my ultimate Punisher movie. When a guy gets his face caved in by a fist, and not just he punched him in the face and he passed out. He punched him in his face, through his face, probably touched the back of his skull with it.
Yeah, that was a shot.
The guy was dead.
That was mean. That whole movie was just mean, though.
I never laughed so hard when the dude was doing parkour and jumped off the building and got blown up by a rocket.
Oh man, that was hysterical. Where those dudes were high on speed or whatever the hell it was. This dude jumped off and ate a rocket to the chest. That was crazy.
That was just that I cackled like a little schoolgirl.
That movie was craziness.
So yeah, I mean, there's some passes. There's some things that kind of slip through the cracks. And you get the rated R that it deserves, because we all know Punisher should be a rated R film. There's just some things that should be rated R. Like, you can get away with a Batman PG-13, but if you get a rated R Batman, okay, all right, but push the boundaries. Don't add in a fuck because you think that it's gonna get you ratings. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't at all. No, I agree with that. I don't believe in just throwing in an extra curse word here and an extra curse word there, and all of a sudden you're rated R and that makes you edgier. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah. And also, I believe that, like you said earlier, it needs to be within the context of what you're doing. Yeah. I'm all for violent movies. I thoroughly enjoy violent movies, but for me, it has to make sense. Right. The violence there has to be a means to an end somewhere here. I don't believe in just watching a movie that's rated R is just mindless violence for the sake of mind. Don't get me wrong, there are some good movies that are mindless. You watch them, they're fun, you have a good time with them. But certain movies that you're expecting a good plot from, it's okay for it to be violent, but the violence has to fit. Right. It has to fit. And if you're gonna go rated R, then you have to make it worthwhile. Right. Don't just show me one scene and all of a sudden this is rated R.
I mean, as a script writer, it's hard, right? Because you're essentially tasked with writing the story, and I always feel, and I don't know how many people. I think the best version of your story is the version you initially write, because the drafts that you come up with afterwards, for the most part, is the input that you get from everybody else. You know what I'm saying? It clashes with your vision of the book should be, and since they never say put in your first draft, yeah, there's gonna be some rough things in it. You got to refine what you have, but usually the first draft is usually the most purest draft you have. Because you go in there and you refine and you fix and you change. And yeah, you might craft a better story, but that's not the story that you came up with.
Well,
And sometimes it does more harm than good, because where a writer will say, all right, in this scene, he gets revenge by doing this, this, and that. And then Hollywood, you take that script to Hollywood, and Hollywood says, well, you know what? That's a little bit too much. We're trying to get everybody to come. We're spending a lot of money. Let's get it down to PG-13. So let's imply this. And then when you imply something in a scene, either works for you or it doesn't.
Right.
Most of the time, it doesn't work for you.
Well, that's where it comes down to a good director. That's where it comes down to, if you're a script writer and you've written this really good script that's being turned into a movie, it's important that you have a good rapport with the director making the movie and the actors performing in the movie.
Right.
Because then when you tell them what you're trying to say, what the underlying tone is, what your original intent for the story is, a good director knows how to get that across with the subtleties that Hollywood wants.
even good directors take missteps with those kind of things.
Oh, absolutely.
You ever watch a movie? I mean, I can't pick any one example off the top of my head because there'd be so many, and then I don't even know what to choose. But like, you ever watch a movie where something should have happened but didn't?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a bad guy doesn't catch it though he should have caught it.
Absolutely.
And you're like, no.
I kind of felt like that about John Wick. And mind you, I love John Wick. Don't get me wrong. I love.
You kill my goddamn puppy. It's time to off your ass in the worst way.
But the dude who he ended up killing, the Russian mobster's son.
Yeah.
I always felt like that was too quick. Like there was something more that should have been done there.
And like, all right, so you try to ground everything you do in reality. Neil deGrasse Tyson said it best. You start with the basic facts of reality, and I'm paraphrasing because he didn't say it like that, but he said you start with the ground idea, the real science, and then you can elaborate. You can stretch the truth.
Right.
But as long as that your science is grounded in realism, then it's acceptable. When you just make outlandish things for the sake of your movie, that's when you lose the audience, or you lose.
I think there's truth to that.
So here it is. Like in John Wick, you got the scene where he goes after the guy's son, he kills him, and it's quick. Well, that's what an assassin would do. He wouldn't sit there and be like, "Why did you kill my dog?" and beat him, all emotionally. He's gonna go in like an assassin and take him out. I can appreciate that. Is that what I wanted to see? No. That's the reason why we have problems with Steven Seagal's films. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, his fighting style is real and very devastating. But does that translate into an awesome fight scene on screen? Not necessarily.
No.
And then they had this thing where they turned him into a fucking Superman. And then, like, he will never get hit. Or if he does, he bleeds. And then he gets even stronger. I was like, no, you're not Chuck Norris.
Now you pissed him off.
You're not Chuck Norris. Because Chuck Norris wouldn't even get hit. He would just get stronger. That's it.
Yeah, Chuck Norris, he'll breathe on you and you'll die.
Word up.
Actually, you hit him in the fist and the fist comes out of his beard and knocks you out. No, but honestly, though, all joking aside, if you look at Chuck Norris, a lot of his early movies, which I'm honestly a fan of. I like Eye for an Eye and Forced Vengeance and The Octagon. I enjoy those movies with him.
Yeah,
I really do. Those are movies where he takes a beating and he gets hit, and his fight scenes are very visceral, very hard-hitting, especially for the era where he made them. Those fight scenes are very hard-hitting, very real.
Without a doubt.
And that's something I've always kind of appreciated about Chuck Norris fight scenes in the early days.
Right.
There's a certain sense of brutality and there's a certain visceral flair to his fight scenes. If you watch his early movies, you see it like in Invasion USA and some of his earlier stuff. Delta Force is another one.
Yeah.
There's a certain visceral quality to his fight scenes. Yet Chuck Norris, and you see in the movies, he's very skilled, not invincible.
Right.
He's taking his beatings in his movies. Definitely he's taking his. Whereas Seagal, Seagal gets hit like you said, maybe once, maybe twice. He'll get shot and he just walks it off. It's like, what the hell is this guy on?
He's like, You think that's the measure of man?
Don't get me started on that damn movie, Measure of a Man.
No, you got to see the Will Sasso Mad TV skits.
Oh, I did. Hysterical.
Fucking things be killing me. Hysterical. I watched them recently, and it's just as funny. But we're straight off the fucking topic, man. We're supposed to be talking about Suicide Squad. But, yeah. But, this is going to be spoilers, man. We're going to talk about this shit until it's green and moldy. So, I mean, we went into Suicide Squad already aware of the negative reviews that it got, because it got mixed reviews the same way Batman v Superman did. So, with that in mind, since we didn't go the opening night, we kind of went, with our hands in our pockets. Basically, we were expecting the worst and left pleasantly surprised.
Definitely.
So, and they did a hell of a job. I mean, it's rare that I went to a film that I thoroughly enjoyed, and not because it was a great movie, but it's just a fun movie.
Oh, absolutely. It's fun. This might be the first movie that I can think of, anyway, that actually really features the supervillains. So that right there is a novelty. That's the novelty, first of all. You're dealing with villains. Mm-hmm. Secondly, the cast is very interesting. You have Harley Quinn.
Right.
You have Deadshot. You have Killer Croc. You Captain Boomerang, who's a Flash enemy generally. So the cast is very quirky and offbeat, and not people you would ever think would work together.
Right.
So that's another appeal. And then again, you have some star power. You got Will Smith playing Deadshot. Right there, that's some star power. Right. So you have some names in this movie. It's just a very offbeat kind of a flick.
Yeah. Well, people said, "Oh, this is like a Dirty Dozen of superhero movies." Well, you can go that route. Yeah, I say, I think this is more like, the way I said Now You See Me is the Ocean's 11 with magic. This is like Ocean's 11 but with superheroes. True, they're not going after like a prize or money or something like that, but here's an ensemble cast coming together, all of them bringing something different to the table, and them achieving at the end. And I really liked it. I mean, like I said, this I we were speaking about earlier. And what's really funny about it was that I had saw it Friday night, so I'm seeing it the day yesterday, and this is Saturday, so yeah. So Nick asks me, how was it? And I plead the fifth. Like, I didn't want to talk about the movie at all. Like, I was just like, I waive my right.
You're a prick for that, by the way.
I will not perjure myself. I cannot deny or
confirm
any reviews or allegations against the film.
I
was saying that for like 24 hours.
You suck for that, by the way. You're a prick.
He was like, "Is it good or not?" And I sent him a picture of the Fonz.
Yeah, imagine you ask a friend of yours, "Hey, how good was this movie? Was it good, bad, or whatever?" And he sends you back a picture of Arthur fucking Fonzarelli. We're giving the thumbs up. It's just like, I didn't know what to make of that. Like, I wanted to laugh and slap him at the same time. So it was ridiculous.
So I was like, I'm gonna not say nothing until it's done, because I don't want to put anything in anybody's head. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you got to walk away with it with almost no expectations, and you already got expectations going into it from what you saw in the commercials, from the reviews that you already seen. So when you go with somebody who's already seen it, I don't need to add to that mix, because I saw this movie and I had, like, as fun as it was and as much as I enjoyed it, I still think there was some missteps, some things that maybe missed opportunities. And I say missed opportunities, not that they messed up on, but chances that they could have taken with the film and didn't. We can start naming off a few, but we'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it.
Well, here's a question, though. I'm going to ask you this. How do you like this movie compared to Batman vs. Superman? Now, I know that I know the answer. They're completely different movies. Fair enough. But still, I mean, they're comic book movies. They're based on comic book characters. How do you compare this to Batman vs. Superman?
Honestly, I would have to say that I enjoy Suicide Squad more.
Really? That's
so much, in fact, like, okay, I bought the Batman v Superman on Blu-ray, the Ultimate Edition cut. I bought it 4K. So I was committed. You know what I'm saying? I could have bought the 3D, but I had 3D already. I have not watched it.
Really?
Granted, I seen it like fucking 5 times in the theater. So
Right.
I already seen as much as I need to see from it.
Yeah, I saw it twice in the theaters, actually.
But I've had it. It's sitting there, and I haven't bothered to watch it. But I'm pretty sure Suicide Squad is gonna be one of those movies that as soon as it comes on cable, you're not changing the channel.
Oh yeah, definitely. It has. There is something about that movie that kind of draws you into its wacky world and makes you want to stay there.
But it's a movie. Okay, so it's not an incredibly long movie, unlike Batman v Superman. It was already swollen at the 2 hour and 30 mark. You know what I'm saying? In the theater, and then they added the additional 30 minutes, so now you're at a whopping 300 minutes. And imagine that
your Lord of the Rings status now.
Yeah, your Lord of the Rings status. And unlike Lord of the Rings, you can watch that and just hold on to Lord of the Rings. Even the Hobbit movies, say what you will about them, but if it comes on, you can actually turn it on and commit to it.
Oh, I love the Hobbit movies.
So but Batman v Superman, I don't see that happening. You see that on cable, and you make that conscientious decision: either I'm going to watch this, or I'm going to change the channel. And I see a lot of people just changing the channel because the good stuff don't come into much later on. So you turn that on, and it's at the scene where Bruce's parents are getting shot up in the street. Trust me, you're gonna switch the channel, and then you'll come back later on when the good shit starts happening. So that's how I see it. But with this can end up, and I might get crucified for this one. This may be another Big Trouble in Little China. That no matter when it comes on TV, you're leaving that channel on there. Whether you get up and walk away and do stuff, that shit is playing in the background. You know how many times I've been in home and I'm cleaning up the house, Big Trouble in Little China is on the television. That channel ain't changing. I commit to the whole.
Yeah, I know that movie has
hour
a weird,
and 45, whatever.
There's a weird power that movie has over me. I don't know, between that and The Last Dragon, man, I have a hard time.
That's another one. You don't change the channel. Matter of fact, I'll put it how real it is. You're in your home and you're watching The Last Dragon, but you know you have to leave. How painful is that?
Yeah, that sucks because I've been in that situation.
Or you watch a Big Trouble in Little China and you know you're running out of time. You gotta step out the door, but it's on, and you just gotta watch that scene. And it always seems to land on the scene when they're in the brothel.
Always.
And you're like, fuck, I gotta go. Damn it. And then you're coming back, you're throwing it on Netflix or whatever.
I'm going to tell you how real it is. One time, me and my wife were going to a movie, and we were just flicking channels, killing time before our movie started. And Big Trouble in Little China was on. It was just at the beginning when the guy's riding in the Pork Chop Express, and he's on the radio, and he's, saying all his crazy one-liners. And he's driving in before he even meets Tommy.
Yeah.
Before he even hooks up with him and they play their card game.
Yeah.
Would you believe, me and my wife said, we can catch a later movie. And we stood there and watched the whole damn thing and called a later movie.
And you know what?
Just because of
Not for that, I would have called, canceled my tickets, and rescheduled for a later showing.
I couldn't help it.
It has
that weird power.
It has that pull. You know what I'm saying? Like that and The Last Dragon, like two movies right off the back right there will do it. I see Suicide Squad, maybe not to that legendary status, but it's going to be one of those movies that it comes on. It's going to be reliable. It's going to be as reliable as The Wedding Planner on TBS.
Yeah, that movie does come out on TBS a lot.
Fuck ton. That and Failure to Launch.
Oh, man. I don't know.
It's like they love Matthew McConaughey.
They really do. They love this guy. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That movie is always on TBS.
Yeah. So, that's why I see this movie. So it's a good movie, and I enjoyed it, and I think I like it more. I think I appreciate it more than I do Batman v Superman. I mean, time will tell.
For me,
whether I'm right or the consensus agrees with me.
Well, I think you may win that with that one. I think that's something that you might win, mainly because a lot of people had gripes with the Batman versus Superman movie.
Yeah.
Right. Suicide Squad is shorter. It's a pretty good length. Decent
length. Average movie. Nobody complains about the length.
So close to 2 hours. excuse me, Suicide Squad, there is something about the movie that's just very fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's a very fun movie, and there are certain things in the movie that engage you, that make you want to keep watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and those things are constant throughout the movie. Like for me, it's Harley Quinn's performance and Will Smith's performance as Deadshot. You know?
Yeah, Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie.
Because you said the character and then you said Will Smith.
Okay, well, yeah, I can't remember her name. But the girl who plays Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, and Will Smith, their performances were constant throughout the movie, and it grabbed me. The person playing Amanda Waller grabbed me. There were just so many things. Jared Leto as a Joker, even though he was not a dominant character in the movie, he grabbed me. Whereas, as much as I love Batman, Superman, because I really do, I despite my gripes with the movie, it has a special place in my heart because I love both those characters.
Yeah.
But to be fair, if both of them were on a shelf and I had enough money to only buy one, I probably would buy Suicide Squad first.
Yeah.
And there's just something magnetic about the movie.
Right.
That you can just overlook its flaws and really enjoy it.
I mean, like, there's a lot of things writing with this movie that's really impressive. I mean, the soundtrack is amazing. Like, I want to go buy that soundtrack, that album, because it got all the hits, it got all the classics, and it's just a fuck ton fun. And then, like, you know, the writing's pretty clever and stuff like that. There's some laugh out loud moments. There's some parts that hit home. David Ayer, you know, he wrote it and directed the film. Did a hell of a job. I mean, look, it's gonna get not lukewarm, but it's gonna get average ratings. You know, I mean, hell, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a shitty score, for that matter.
Wow.
You know, matter of fact, there was a boycott or a petition to close the website.
Why?
Because they felt like they were shitting on DC too much. I mean, they shitted on Man of Steel, they shitted on Batman v Superman, and then they shitted on Suicide Squad.
Well, you know, people have to remember something.
So DC has took it personally. They were like, "Listen, motherfuckers, we're gonna shut you down."
Yeah,
but they took the petition down.
But you want to know something too? I can understand where they're coming from. I definitely understand where DC's coming from. But at the same time, you know, just because people can be assholes doesn't mean they don't have the right to be assholes.
Right.
You know, and do I agree? I personally don't adhere to anything Rotten Tomatoes says, because 9 times out of 10 I end up disagreeing with them.
Right.
And I do feel like there's a certain bias towards certain movies and certain actors that they do have. I've noticed that, especially with Will Smith. I've noticed Rotten Tomatoes, anything Will Smith is in, they have a problem with.
Right.
You know, I've noticed that, which I think Will Smith is a fantastic actor. Does that mean he hasn't had a couple of bad movies? Yeah, he's had a couple of bad movies. But hell, so's Denzel, and Denzel is an amazing actor.
True.
You know, I mean,
True.
you find me one actor that hasn't had some bad movies, and, you know, good luck with that. They've all had some bad movies. But overall, I think Will Smith put together a very impressive body of work, if you look at his films overall.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
like, his last movie was actually pretty good. I mean, that was Concussion.
Right, based on the true story.
It was a good movie. I mean, he had a misstep with the whole M. Night Shyamalan After Earth. And you know what?
And personally, I didn't hate After
I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what people were looking for. Maybe
yeah,
they just hated the sight of his son.
Yeah, that's another thing too. There's a certain hatred that this kid has gotten, Jaden Smith.
And I can't really fathom where it started.
Well, somebody was telling me, I have a friend who was a journalist, and he was telling me that he hates nepotism. He hates the fact that there's some starving young actor out there who's not getting his shot because Jaden Smith is Will Smith's son. And this, that, and the third. Here's what I told him. I said, you show me any medium. I don't care whether it's the entertainment medium, if it's the computers, if it's legal, if it's corporate. You show me any medium where there aren't people who are born with born into the right families, come from the right background, who are able to get jobs over people who are probably more deserving. You show me anywhere. In any walk of life.
Nepotism is a major
It happens everywhere. It happens
institution.
In corporate. It even happens in the city. And I work for the city, and I can tell you, it's not so much now because it's more exams to take. You know, you got to take exams now. But still, even in the city, it happens. Yeah. There's a lot of people who get into positions because their uncle or their dad or their godfather or whatever it is are in it. You know, and so, but to sit up here and just hate on somebody for being born into the right circumstances doesn't make sense to me. Is Jaden Smith a phenomenal actor? No. Does that mean that he can't become one? No, because Will Smith wasn't the greatest actor in the beginning either.
Yeah, he eased into it.
He grew into it and became a good actor. Could the same thing happen to Jaden Smith?
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. I thought After Earth was a, you know what? Yeah, here's where I'm gonna get lynched. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't have an issue with
this
it.
movie.
I don't know why. Like I was like, look, it's fucking Man versus Wild in the future on Earth. Like I was like, I can't get mad at that. Like.
Yeah,
Some people bitch for no reason. They want to bitch for no reason.
You have people that they hate on things for the sole purpose of hating on them.
Yeah.
And I get where DC's coming from on Rotten Tomatoes, because we'll take a movie like Man of Steel. Most people that I speak to that are Superman fans love that movie. Are there some who don't? Of course there are some who don't. But overall, the people that I've spoken to, which are pretty numerous, they've all had positive things to say about Man of Steel.
Of course.
And even the ones who didn't like Batman versus Superman had certain things about the movie that they did enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I love Ben Affleck as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't care for their interpretation of Lex Luthor. I didn't care for that. But there were still things about the movie I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, totally.
Rotten Tomatoes is funny that way.
Yeah, critics are critics, man. And Rotten Tomatoes is more of a generalization of many critics coming together, but yeah, it is what it is. You know what? I always reserve judgment for myself.
Yeah, I never just go by what a critic says,
and
I definitely, if it's a movie I'm interested in, if the subject matter is something that appeals to me, 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna go see it regardless of what critics have to say.
Let's put it this way: I would never tell you not to see a movie. I always tell you to see it yourself, make that judgment, because you'll see something that I won't see, and you may like it. You run the risk of wasting your money, especially if I don't like it. I mean, there's very rare occasions where I say, look, save your money, don't go. You know, very rare. Because I give credit to, making a movie ain't easy. You know, if it was, you'll be making fucking movies.
Absolutely,
you know what I'm saying? Hundreds, maybe even thousands of people come together to make this thing, some characters, into a reality.
Sure.
You know
and listen, there's some bad movies, absolutely. There are some movies that I can't stand. You know, listen, it's like anything else. You have in anything that's a supply and demand kind of a profession. Anything that deals with people, anything that deals with people's opinions and people's tastes.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have some people who like it. You're gonna have some people who don't like
it.
Are there some movies that absolutely suck? Absolutely. But are there some movies that may not be the greatest movie, but may not be the worst and fall somewhere in that middle category? Sure. Absolutely. And those movies are worth watching if the subject matter matters to you. Like a video game. There are some games that get let me tell you something. Skyrim. I'm just going to jump on video games for a second. Skyrim is a game that has won Game of the Year across different platforms. It's one of the most revered games of our era.
Right.
I don't like that game. It doesn't appeal to me. Yeah. Does that mean that Skyrim sucks? No, it just means I don't like that game.
Yeah.
You know, that's all it means.
Sure. Yeah,
that's all it means. True. You know,
Borderlands, same thing with me.
Right, you don't like Borderlands. I love Borderlands. Mm-hmm. Right, you don't care for it. It's not your cup of tea.
It's not a shitty game. It's just that I didn't get into it.
Now, there's some games that absolutely suck, just from a gameplay perspective, from a story perspective, graphically, things like that. Yeah, there are games that are horrible.
And are the games that are graphically terrible and gameplay terrible, but I like them anyway? Absolutely.
Oh yeah, we all have our guilty pleasures.
We all have our guilty pleasures.
So you know.
So like I said, it's a vast world of opinions. So I'll leave it up to you. But jumping back onto the meat and potatoes of this Suicide Squad. So yeah, you got this whole ensemble cast. You got Will Smith, Margot Robbie, Jamie Fitzsimmons. You have this dude, Boomerang. What's his name? Jai Courtney. You even have this kid's son, Clint Eastwood's son, Scott Eastwood.
That's right.
I mean, he didn't have a major role in there. He spoke barely in there, but fuck, he was in there.
Absolutely.
Clint's son was in there.
Clint Eastwood's son.
And you know, everything just played to a nice clip. They had a lot of flashback scenes where you saw how they got caught and placed into the facility that they're in.
Which I have to say was I not to interrupt you, but I have to say I love how they did that.
Well, any good ensemble cast movie, like especially when you're doing the start of it, you gotta do it that way. There's no way you can do an origin or just do a movie with an ensemble cast where you don't have no idea where the fuck they came from.
You know what I'm saying? There's so many different ways.
Even Ocean's 11, one of the great ensemble cast movies, they even did it kind of. They did some scenes where you show some sort of an origin for them. You know what I'm saying? But they did a really good job here. You know,
They did.
It didn't feel rushed.
That's exactly where I was going. A lot of times in movies like this, where they have so many an ensemble cast, as you said, you know, those introductions are tricky. Sometimes they can suck in the way they do them. Sometimes they can be boring and maybe give you a little too much information. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that can go wrong with introductions.
Right.
We've seen it. You know, this movie hit every introduction, in my opinion, on the nose.
Yeah.
I enjoyed everybody, and they gave you just enough.
Right.
You know, it wasn't too little where they're just showing you who this guy is. Here you go. You know, take him or leave him. They gave you just enough of each person to get a little invested, especially Deadshot, especially him. They gave you just enough for you to get a little bit invested. Then we got to see the Flash, which is pretty cool.
Right.
The Flash came out when they were showing Captain Boomerangs, which I didn't expect that at all. I didn't think we were going to see the Flash.
Yeah, we got to see the Flash in there, Ezra Miller in full costume.
Right, in full costume.
It leaves you with no mystery what the fuck he's gonna look like.
And I think he looks pretty cool.
It's all right.
He looks
a little like plastic.
Yeah, no, definitely. And
it's like
a little.
It looked like a do-it-yourself Comic-Con costume. It looks a little Comic-Con.
Hey, listen, man, there were some Comic-Con costumes that are mind-blowing. I've seen them.
I know, and that wasn't the best one. Look, it's the Flash. We're gonna get a Flash. I'm happy about it. But I can clearly pick apart that.
My
costume.
only problem with the Flash so far.
That's a overly that costume does not function for what he does.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can't argue with that.
You can imagine a man who runs really fast wearing that much armor.
I can't argue with that too much. That makes some sense. But the bigger problem I had isn't the costume. He's a little too light. He has too much lightning going on. There's too much lightning. It's like every time he goes somewhere, it's like a bolt of lightning struck. It's a bit of overkill. Thor doesn't have that much lightning, and that's the god of thunder.
He's brushing his teeth.
Yeah, it's just lightning everywhere this guy shows up at. And it's a little too much. I get the whole thing. You're getting into his speed and harnessing the speed force and all. I get what they're trying to do.
They're trying to make it.
But
I see what they're doing.
I see what they're trying to do, but I think it's a little much. I think they need to dial back the Storm didn't have that much lightning. You know, Thor didn't have that much lightning.
Actual storms don't have that much lightning.
Yeah, you know, real storms don't have that much lightning. Matter of fact, Storm should have had that much lightning in the movies, and she never did. You know, it's like
real
the second
thunderstorms.
Yeah, it's like the second this guy moves, there's lightning everywhere. It's like, all right, it's a bit much. You know, Thor doesn't have that much going on. You know, but still, I reserve judgment. But it was cool to see him.
But it was awesome. Just like Batman, like they sprinkled Batman in the movie. You've seen him in the commercials. And pretty much what you saw in the commercials is pretty much as you get. You know, you get a couple extra seconds with him. But for the most part, but it was cool because we live in a day and age where Batman usually when he does a movie he's at the forefront. He's the center of attention. That's not the case. He's a supporting character to tell the story. He takes a backseat. But when he does show up on screen, his presence is felt. And seeing him through the eyes of the criminal almost gives him a sort of like a awe of mystery, like he's the boogeyman. You know what I'm saying? They're afraid of him, and they're just. It's about getting away from him, not so much confronting him. Although Deadshot was dead set on trying to kill him.
Well, he wasn't playing. Deadshot was looking off his ass. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
But I mean. But with the exception of that, I mean, everybody seemed to be like, "Oh shit, it's Batman," you know. So it's actually having them in there and not taking the spotlight away from the real characters of this movie was spot on. I think it was great. And just like Joker can easily come in and steal the movie. He almost did. He almost stole the movie, and I think like this is one of those missed opportunities I say where they could have because. Coming out of the movie the first night, I went with my brother, and he was saying that, you know, the Enchantress. I don't really know her. It was a little too much of the magic and all this stuff. I would have liked to see somebody maybe as good as Deadshot, you know, fighting as the main bad guy, or maybe having Enchantress as like one of his, you know, secondary, you know, enforcers, like real powerful, but. Having it like maybe somebody who's as good as Deadshot, you know, fighting and stuff like that, and you get a real cool fight scene. And I'm like, yeah, but how many times have you seen that before?
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't agree
And
with that.
even like, and then I stopped myself because I was gonna say, well, a lot of times the Joker and Suicide Squad, every time they do a Suicide Squad that involves the Joker, he turns out to be the main bad guy because he's such the wild card, the way Harley Quinn is, that he can easily become the main villain of the story. And if that would have happened this way, I wouldn't have been that mad about it.
No, I wouldn't.
But I would have felt a little like, damn, you know, here he comes again, stealing the spotlight.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been that mad about it because Joker is one of my favorite villains. So anytime I get to see him on screen, I'm happy about it. But at the same time, you know, there is such a thing as overkill.
Yeah,
and we've seen a lot of the Joker over the last couple of years. I tell you,
think that's probably
I'm kind of glad they went with the Enchantress, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because the whole point of Suicide Squad is to handle these crazy missions that regular people are not going to do.
Yeah,
you know that's kind of the point. And the Enchantress was originally not meant to be the main villain; she was meant to be a part of this group.
Yeah,
it just events unfolded in the movie that made her the main bad guy,
and probably events unfolded in the filming of the movie that said, no, let's redo this and make her the
maybe who knows, maybe they might have had someone else
because like I think about it like. But it makes sense.
But I thought she was a pretty
the whole point of
badass character.
Yeah, she was interesting.
I like the thing of magic because it pushes forth what's happening in the DC cinematic universe. Superman changed everything. If you're talking about just the DC cinematic universe, Superman changed everything. He changed everything they thought they knew about life, about space, about what's possible and impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He changed everything. So now here comes this character who also, like Superman, is someone from someplace else. Doesn't really belong here, except her intentions are not noble. Right. And she has all this power.
Yeah.
She was very, very powerful. And it made they did this movie in such a way where even though she shouldn't have fit, she did.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
Her being there, her being this over the top character, this magical type character, it worked. It just there was something about her that brought a sense of urgency to the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like there were stakes in this movie.
Well, yeah, there was, and the fact that you can't call it a Suicide Squad when they're going against things that they're familiar with. It's a Suicide Squad. That means they don't know if they're making it back. You know what I'm saying? It's a suicide mission.
They do stuff that they shouldn't come back from.
Magic and witches are beyond any of their realms of expertise. Deadshot's an assassin. Harley Quinn is a psychopath. Boomerang is a bank, a psychopath, a sociopath with bank robber tendencies. Killer Croc, he's just a savage. Like he likes to eat people and shit. Like
right. In many ways, Killer Croc is a victim. More than honestly, if you look at him, he's kind of a victim of just circumstance.
Think about it. At that whole movie, the only person that really can fuck with them was Diablo.
Right, because he was the only person among them that really had superpowers. Killer Croc is a different type of being. He's like de-evolved almost. He's strong, he's tough, that type of thing.
Right.
But he's not super powerful.
Right.
Not the way Diablo was, where this guy had complete pyrokinetic abilities.
Yeah.
So he's someone who really could give them, and he did. He had his moment to shine against them, which made perfect sense.
Yeah.
It made perfect sense for that. So
in the context of what we were given, it actually makes sense to have somebody like the Enchantress as the main bad guy. It puts the stakes at a level that's beyond what they're used to. They never encountered anything like that before, so they feel like the odds are stacked against them. It feels like a suicide mission for a Suicide Squad, and everybody played it the way they ought to play it.
Yeah, definitely. I loved how in the beginning everybody had their own agenda, obviously.
Yeah.
Amanda Waller, every member of the Suicide Squad had their own agenda. They had their own reasons for participating in this. Mm-hmm. But what I did enjoy is that they found a way to make these guys come together without making it corny.
Right, exactly.
They didn't do it in such a way where everybody's high-fiving each other and, hey, we're this team now. We're this, we're this happy super group now. No. They found common ground. Yeah. They definitely found common ground, but they did it in such a way that it didn't come off as campy or or silly. It worked out very well.
Yeah.
One of the show stealers for me, I have to say, is definitely the relationship between Joker and Harley.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that too.
Yeah, that was a show stealer.
That was great. And much needed because you take the cinematic universes. We'll exclude the cartoon. You take the cinematic universe. We haven't had a Harley Quinn yet, so there's always been Joker by himself. You know what I'm saying? And he's either played the gangster, sociopath, or the psychopath of Heath Ledger, and that's it. There was no other interest other than Vicky Vale that held Joker's attention, and with Vicky Vale, that didn't even last long. So now you move on to the animation, the Bruce Timm series, where Harley Quinn was introduced, and Harley Quinn was always like a throwaway girlfriend for Joker. Like, he kept her around because he found use for her. She entertained him, but when he was bored with her, he'll cast her aside, unapologetically. But here, the love seemed real. It was almost like Natural Born Killers, or harken back to that 50s kind of love. You ever got that, like that 50s kind of love where love was the forefront? Like,
absolutely.
Like it was about that one girl and that one girl only.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what it was. Like, the Joker, like, fell in love with her. Like, even that there was a scene, and like I said, we're spoiling, where he asks her, you know, will you die for me? Will you live for me? And all this stuff. And she's like, yeah. And you can almost see that he was about to treat it the way the other Jokers have, where, you know, it's like whatever. So she throws herself in a vat of toxic goo and shit.
The same stuff that turned him into
the Joker, right? And you see him walk away, but then he got that face like, fuck, I really do care about her. It was in his face. Like, that was acting that was coming out. Like, it was in his face like, fuck, I could have just walked away and not give a shit, but I really feel something for this girl. I spent enough time with her. And he dives his ass right in after her.
Yeah, no, and you know, the Joker and Harley relationship is an interesting thing because in the comics, there've always been a couple of ways that's been written. One has been, like you mentioned before, where she's just like this throwaway girl that she's completely infatuated with him. And he uses her for that.
Yeah.
And like you said, she has her uses. So he uses her, but then if it comes down to her or him, it's always going to be her. He always casts her aside immediately.
Right.
But then there have been other writers in the comics that have written it more along the lines of what we saw in the movie, where there is a real, albeit unhealthy and destructive relationship, but a relationship nonetheless. Yeah. And this movie kind of went that route, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Because there was something. Because come on, folks, let's be honest. I mean, we all know somebody, if it's not you yourself, that has been in a destructive relationship that they really shouldn't have been in, but they love the person no matter what.
Very true.
You know, we either all know someone or maybe gone through it ourselves. So this was a very exaggerated representation of that, but something people can connect with.
Yeah,
there was definitely something there,
you
saw in his face, as crazy as he was, the one thing he really seemed to give a shit about was her.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, he essentially moved mountains in this movie to get to her.
Yeah, he didn't care who he had to kill. He didn't care what he had to do.
He was lost without her. Yeah, and that was beautiful. Like, fucking me getting touched over. Like I said, you give me the feels, and I'm fucking yours. So they give me the feels. Like, I felt that connection was real. Like, she was gone, and he was literally in tears over her loss. One of his goons came into the room, and he's on the floor, like in this, almost like emo state. Like, you can't make him laugh anymore, that kind of thing. He drew a smile on his face because he couldn't smile anymore.
Yeah, that was twisted.
You know what I'm saying?
That was actually twisted. And I like that tattoo he had on his hand of the old Joker, of the classic Joker smile.
Yeah, and he'll cover his face with it. It was brilliant stuff. Like, brilliant, aspect of a Joker we've never seen before. So, so that connection was real, and and they showed a lot of fanfare when it came to them, because they did a scene where they did a flashback where the Joker and Harley Quinn are together, and she's in the classic outfit, the red and black leotard with the hat, and Joker is in the tuxedo based on the Alex Ross painting. Yeah. And it was gorgeous. It was like they ripped it right out of the damn page.
Yeah, no, and she was impressive. Awesome in that suit.
She looked amazing, and they showed the leotard again when they snatch them up and tell them, you got this mission. They open up their personal effects so they can get ready for the mission, and she has the leotard, and she chooses against it. She goes with a different outfit. But just to show that little extra effort to say, look, fans, we heard you. We know. Here's some fanfare. Boom, there you go. She brings out the mallet. I would have liked to have seen her use it.
Well, she was a little bit against those monsters.
No. She used the bat. She had the bat the entire time. But when they were at the base, at the staging grounds for the mission, and they looking at the personal effects, she whisks out the mallet. So you get to see the mallet. I mean, it was freaking awesome. And then, you get the flashbacks of how Batman catches her, and they're on a date in a like a super sports car, like a Lamborghini or something, and it's purple and white on the inside, which I thought was kind of fly though.
Yeah,
I ain't front. It was kind of pimp.
That was sexy.
And Batman crashes their party, and she's like, "Not on date night." She starts shooting at the roof, and it was really cool shit. So there was a lot of really cool moments in there. Like I said, another missed opportunity where I think they could have hammed it up with her. She unlike everybody else, she has the leeway to ham it up a little.
Yeah, definitely, because her character is so over the top.
Why
you
not
can get crazy with
Why
it.
not go into like little moments where she's skipping around or singing a little jingle? Just kind of out there randomly. Like she has a lot of random moments, which I really appreciate. But it was just certain things, little ticks that I'm looking for that I've seen in the cartoon and the comics that I wished it would have been pulled in. Like I said, like she loved a pogo stick. So to see her like just fucking around with a pogo stick for no reason, I think that would have been fucking awesome. I don't see her as her snatching a purse as a Harley Quinn thing to do.
I don't know.
She crashes a window. It was random, and she takes it, and she has no use for it because she'll never use a purse for what?
I don't know. I enjoyed that part. Even
no, it's cool.
I enjoyed that part.
I enjoyed
because
it
because Harley sometimes she could have just seen a purse, liked it, and took it, and then just tossed it. Said, I don't want it. But that's her.
Yeah, that's her.
She is completely, like you said, random that way. Where I could so see her walking by a window, seeing something she likes, breaking the window, taking it, and then just saying, screw it, I don't want it anymore.
Right, because you see it later on. She doesn't have it. She tossed it away.
Right. So,
but I mean, like, that's why I say it was a missed opportunity because you could show a very Harley Quinn thing to do, or just something that you think she would do because that's her nature. I would have loved to seen her like do some skipping in that scene or sing a jingle, just randomly, or like I said, jumping around on the pogo stick. She finds a pogo stick. Maybe she breaks that in the window, like a toy store.
That would have been funny.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been.
You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, just some missed opportunities. But it's the direction of the director and the writers and the producers and all that come into play. Like I said, that would have been in my movie.
Right.
But there's a lot of things they did that I wouldn't have thought of doing. I thought it was really cool.
Oh yeah, one thing I enjoyed that also was a little touching was Deadshot's relationship with his daughter.
That was very good. Like I always knew about his daughter, but you never really get the connection. I never really got the connection in the comic books or even in the cartoon or anything like that. How close he really was with his daughter. I knew he cared for her, but you never really see that until Will Smith put some heart into it.
Right. That's where it takes a very good actor, and not to disrespect the performance put on in Arrow, because I thought Deadshot was great in Arrow also.
Right, but his incentives were totally different.
But his incentives were very different. But he did love his daughter very much.
But wait a minute, no, he didn't play Deadshot. He played Deathstroke in Arrow.
No, but there was a Deadshot in Arrow. Remember, that's the one.
Oh shit, that's right. Yes,
yeah.
I forgot about that. That's the one
who killed Diggle's brother.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So that he played it with a lot of heart, also.
Yeah,
in a sense.
I mean,
he was more obnoxious than Will Smith. The guy from Arrow played it a lot more obnoxiously and real, the wise ass and everything.
Yeah.
Will Smith had moments like that, but he wasn't like that throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
And you did get a feeling that this guy loved his kid,
and
but his attitude toward his daughter was, she's better away from me because of what I do.
Yeah.
Whereas Will Smith was more like, I want my daughter with me.
Yeah.
I
mean, I give it up to Will Smith. His gravitas lends so much to the character that I didn't expect. Because when I first heard, to be honest, when I first heard that Will Smith was playing Deadshot, I was like, ugh. I was like, look, I love Will Smith. He's a fantastic actor, but I didn't want somebody like Will Smith in that role, because all I'm gonna see is Will Smith. I'm not gonna see the character he's playing, and that's not saying that he's a bad actor. That it's him all the time, like the way they say with like Keanu Reeves. He's Keanu Reeves no matter what role he plays. But
which I will debate that heavily.
Yeah, we can all debate it. But it's just the fact that when you have, and it's just like him being in this role is my equivalent to saying what Arnold did for Mr. Freeze.
Damn, that bad?
No, like not bad. It's just that he is such a big of a star that his stardomness overshadows what he's trying to do. Remember, this is a very character-driven part. Unlike a movie where you're not you take a regular movie with a regular character, right? You know where it's from. You're being introduced of that character the first time in that movie. There's no comics. There's no lore or book attached to it.
Right. There's nothing that
it's a fresh.
You
character.
have no interpretation of what this guy is.
So somebody like Will Smith comes in, yeah, it's Will Smith, but you know he's embodying the character that he's playing. So you believe him as that character. But here it is, you have an established character like Deadshot, or in this case, let's talk about Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze is such a huge character in the pantheon of DC. Like having somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger come in and play that part. I don't see Mr. Freeze. I see Arnold trying to play somebody as Mr. Freeze. And look how disastrous that turned out.
Well, I think that movie was disastrous mainly because of the script, the director, just any number of reasons.
And I'll throw a bone. Even if the script had been good and the movie overall was good, that performance of him would still be outshined by the fact that that's fucking Arnold. He sounds like Arnold.
Yeah, he would. As much as I love Arnold, and God knows I'm an Arnold fan,
and
he wouldn't have been my choice for Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, and Will Smith is very Will Smithy. Like nobody does Will Smith like Will Smith. You know what I'm saying? So he comes in, he has all the same looks, all the same ticks that gives all his other performances really good, strong stuff. But now you're talking about a DC character that now you got to associate with the actor. You know, the part where he's talking about his daughter, when he was talking with his daughter, he's like, "Look, live with me. You know, I'm coming into some cash, things are looking good or whatever. Come live with me." And she goes, "I know you do bad things." And he got that Will Smith like look, like, "Damn, she's right. I understand." You know, he got that like that sort of glance away look. You know, where it's affecting him, and then he walks off. That's a very Will Smithy thing to do. He does it in all his movies. So, but in this case, he really sold me the character. He sold me a character because I wasn't connected to Deadshot until he came along.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. He brought a certain, well, like you said, his gravitas toward the character. Mm-hmm. He brought something to that character that made him still a badass dude, but someone you can relate to. Yeah. You know, someone that, and I guess especially if you're a dad. Let's say you're one of these dads, single parent. Or rather, not a single parent, but you don't have custody of your daughter, and you have an ongoing feud with what we call the baby mama drama. Yeah. Let's say and Deadshot has baby mama drama for some reason. So, if you're a dude who's going through that or has gone through that in the past, you can relate to Deadshot, even though he's a contract killer, maybe the most dangerous one in the world. Yeah. But you can relate to this father who just wants to be with his daughter. Right. You can relate to that, and Will Smith brought some very real, authentic things to this character. Yeah. That when I was watching him, I didn't feel like I was watching, as you said, Will Smith try to play Deadshot. I felt like I was watching Deadshot. Right. And that's a big accomplishment on Will Smith. That's a credit to Will Smith's skill as an actor. That I didn't look at him and see Will Smith. I saw Deadshot. Right.
Yeah. So these people came in and did a hell of a fucking job. I'm talking about like from Jared Leto to Will Smith. The fuck is Viola Davis, it just goes on. Margot Robbie. I mean, everybody did a good job. Even the weakest people, like people that we always roll our eyes every time we see the name, like Jack Courtney, was thoroughly enjoyable.
I think Jack Courtney's a good actor. I just think Jack Courtney has maybe had some poor role selection. I don't think he's a bad actor. I really don't. I mean, time will tell. We got to see as he puts together a bigger body of work, then we'll know. But I don't think a lot of the problems with him have been his acting per se. I think it's the movies he's in.
Yeah. Karen Fukuhara. I think is her name.
Oh yes.
Yeah, she was great too as Katana.
She was great as Katana.
Yeah,
I love how they implemented the sword that when it kills you, it takes your soul, because that is from the comics. That is ripped out of the comics. So I'm glad that they went there.
Yeah.
I like the guy who played Rick Flag.
Yeah.
I like him.
Jamie, what's his face? Fitzsimmons.
Yeah, I enjoyed him. I enjoyed him thoroughly.
He was good.
And Amanda Waller was another one of those characters that stole the movie.
Viola Davis, man.
She killed it as Amanda.
You know,
Waller.
all right. So, I've always hated Amanda Waller. I mean, I hated somebody who will hate a character or an actor. I hated Amanda Waller, and loved her at the same time. And maybe that's my own inner Joker kicking in, but it was like we said it in the restaurant. We were in the restaurant earlier. Yard House, you gotta check it out. By the way, it's fucking the shit.
Oh yeah, their food is fantastic.
Yeah. So we were talking about it, and there's villains that you love to hate because they're just so good, right? She can easily you can label her one of those people. Like for Nick, it's it's a character you love to hate. For me, it's a character I hate, but I fucking love it. Like when the actress, okay, it'd be one thing. Like I hated the character, but it'd be one thing when the actress comes in, plays it so fucking good that I hate the actress now.
You're walking around saying that bitch.
Like all right, everybody's seen Happy Gilmore, Shooter McGavin, right? In almost every movie, he plays an asshole. Pretty much. You naturally think he's an asshole because he plays it so well. But he's one of the nicest guys ever. It's
like Danny Trejo. You automatically assume the dude's a stone cold killer just by looking at his face, which he probably was in another life.
But
the guy's one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet.
But Viola Davis, she comes in and man, she kills it. And like I fucking hate her. Like it was like if I see her in the street, I'm gonna deck her, and not because it's her. It's because it's her playing
Amanda Waller
and doing it so good that you just like you mother. Like I felt bad for the villains.
Yeah, because she, if anyone's familiar with the Amanda Waller character, she is just a. The means justifies the end in the visual.
Look, here it is. These guys did the impossible. They got to the end. They defeated the Enchantress that was about to take over the world. They did something beyond their realm, and they did it. I won't say at the goodness of their heart. They had plenty of sense of like dying, but the fact is, they kind of got on board to something much bigger than they are, and they're feeling good about themselves. And here she comes, thinking that she's dead. They got freedom. She comes in. Nope, I still got you, motherfuckers. And we're just gonna knock off 10 years off your life sentence. Like they ain't like that's gonna do some shit. And you're like, motherfucker, did you just see what we did? You son of a self-righteous little... And what kills me is that she says, we're doing it for the country and to save humanity. And I don't buy it. Not at all. Like, she plugged 3 of her aides because they didn't have clearance. Yeah. Meanwhile, they were helping your ass the whole night in a quarantine zone.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're scared shitless. They're thinking that the shit that's ready to destroy the world is going to be the thing to kill them. And it turns out your fucked up ass comes in and plugs them while they saving your data.
Folks, if you could see Tony's face right now, the anger on that face is real.
It's volatile. So here's the difference. I love her, and I hate her. Like Billy Zane's character in Titanic, I just fucking hate him. I wanted him to die twice on the Titanic. I wanted him to die like as many times as possible on the Titanic. So I wanted Jack to strangle him. I didn't want him to. It'd be too quick. I wanted Jack to strangle him. Then he survive it, right? Like he'd die but come back, right? He see the light and then come back. And then I want him to toss him into the ice cold water so he could freeze to death, right? And then he'd die of like frostbite and all that stuff, but still make it. And then die a third time by sinking into shit. Like that's how much I hated him in this character. It was such a shit.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit in that movie.
Yeah, like a piece of shit. Like he's another one of those people that I'll punch Billy Zane in the face because
just for playing that stupid ass.
Just like fucked up character work.
Oh, I understand what you mean. I feel like that about Penguin.
So
I feel like that Penguin is one of those characters to me that in real life I would beat him to death with his own umbrella.
Oh man.
You know, I feel like that about Penguin, so I understand exactly where you're coming from.
So yeah, Amanda Waller really got a rise out of me. But I mean, like at the same time, I love it because you need a character like that, especially with this group. You got to have a character more fucked up than the villains, because I really think she's more fucked up than the villains.
Oh, she is, and if you anybody who's ever read her in the comics, you know, and I've said this on more than one occasion, she is one of the most dangerous characters in the DC universe.
Yeah,
and it's not that she has any powers or she doesn't do anything like she doesn't have super strength or
Her
any
influence.
telekinetic or telepathic abilities whatsoever, but she has leverage on almost everyone in the federal government. She knows every secret
everyone,
identity.
every branch.
She knows everybody's secret identity. If ever you watch Justice League Unlimited, there's a part that she has a little banter back and forth she has with Batman, and she tells him, "You better watch your step, rich boy." You know, she threw at him that that she knows who he is. She knows who who Superman is. She knows Flash, Green Lantern. There is no secret identity in dealing with her.
Right.
She has dirt on everybody from the cabinet to the president.
I think she got dirt. I think she got dirt on the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, she's like, you're fucked up.
Yeah, think about that one for a second, right?
Think about that for a second. I had to hit me. She has dirt on the Dalai Lama. Let me tell you, she is like a more corrupt and twisted version of Nick Fury.
Oh, totally.
That's really what she's like, and she
her Avengers Initiative is fucked up.
Yeah, she is one of those people that the ends justify the means unapologetically.
Oh yeah,
like that scene that he was just mentioning a minute ago. So the Suicide Squad comes to save her, even though they don't know that's who they're saving, and then just on principle, she shoots 3 FBI agents or 3 FBI aides or whatever they were. Because they had FBI jackets on.
Yeah.
She shoots them on principle just because they didn't have clearance to know all the stuff that they found out.
That's fucking nuts.
Didn't ask them any questions.
I was like,
didn't take any chances. Didn't ask them any questions. Didn't swear them to secrecy. She took a 9mm and shot every single one of them.
You scum sucking piece of shit.
Yeah, she is.
Like I'm like son of a. Like here it is. These poor 3 people, man. They're sitting there thinking like, my God, I hope we survive this because I have a family and all this stuff. Like that evil bitch is tearing up the city and gonna tear up the world. You're not even thinking about this short old lady hanging out in the command center, ready to take out a gun and plug your ass, and did it so nonchalantly, like it was like scratching your nose. Like that's how it was, almost like an involuntary action, like when your eye twitches and you rub your eye. Like it was like take out the gun, pop, 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 and like and she almost had to like what, like that's what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, she had this look on her face
like as honorable as
she had this look on her face like, what's the big deal? Was I not supposed to kill these people?
Yeah,
it was craziness.
Like, and the fact that Flag didn't even flinch, like he was like, yo, she's fucked up. When Deadshot comes out and says, listen, that's gangster. You better take that to the fucking bank.
Well, I like what he said before he said that. He tells him, he goes, she shoots dumb and I'm the bad guy. I'm the villain.
For real.
He goes, hey, all my cards are on the table. Yep. You know who I am.
Right.
And then he goes, hey, but her? You think I'm the villain? And then she walks away and she goes, yo, that was gangster, by the way. He goes and he tells her.
That was pretty dope, man.
Yeah, that was it was crazy.
So
she is a mean. Let me tell you, another character I feel like that about is Lex Luthor too. And the reason I say that about Lex Luthor,
but all right, so like we spoke about that.
But the reason I feel like that about Lex Luthor is Lex Luthor is exceedingly unapologetically arrogant.
Oh yeah, totally.
And he has this. Not only should I be running the world, I deserve to run the world because I'm Lex Luthor. I'm smarter than everybody. I'm smarter than you.
Yeah.
I have the right to pretty much do whatever I want because I'm Lex Luthor and I'm smarter than you and I can do anything. Kill 1 million people, no big deal. I'm Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Open up the gates to Apocalypse and the Dark Side in, not a problem. I'm Lex Luthor. There is such an underlying sense of arrogance and self-grandizing and. Just
he harkens to like a traditional villain.
He does in many ways.
He's unapologetically not. He's evil. He's an evil dude, but evil is too strong of a word. Evil has like I associate evil with Joker because it's like there's no rhyme or reason to what he does.
Well, I think there's different types of.
I mean, there are different types.
Like you have the chaotic Joker.
Yeah, the chaotic. But like Lex Luthor, like he's a bad guy. He's not a great person at all. But he has a motive and agenda. There's some reasoning behind the way he thinks and the things that he does. Whereas like somebody evil, anybody associated with evil doesn't have an agenda. And if they do, it's way grander than you can fathom conscientiously.
I don't know about that. I think just like there are many different grades of good. You know, I don't believe in black and white. You know, I don't believe there are different levels of good. There are people who are good.
That's why Lex Luthor is a villain you love to hate.
No, I just hate him. I want to take his bald head and ram it up his own ass.
You feel like he's a villain I love to hate.
Don't get me wrong. I love him when
I can never see him. I can never see him good except for that brief moment.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Smallville. I love when he's done right. My favorite Joker to this very day, on-screen Joker, is the one played by Michael Rosenbaum on Smallville. Now, you've all heard me...
Joker, or you mean Lex Luthor?
Lex Luthor, I'm sorry. That's my favorite interpretation of
I was like, wait a goddamn minute.
Yeah, hold on. I'm a little off there.
Bald,
shiny,
arrogant,
skinny, arrogant Lex...
Joker?
No. I mean, my favorite on-screen interpretation of Lex Luthor is Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville.
Right.
Why? Because he's the closest to the Justice League Lex Luthor. In terms of, he's a genius, not so much the mad scientist, he's a genius still, but he's more about control and power. You know, in Justice League, Lex Luthor had his hands in everything.
Yeah.
In
not just real estate.
Yeah, not just real estate. And he had his hands in weapons, and he was still a scientist. A brilliant, maybe the most brilliant scientist or at least one of the most brilliant scientists in the DC universe. He definitely was, but he was also about business. He was about money, control. This guy had politicians in his pocket. Nothing happened in Metropolis without him saying so. He ran Metropolis. Metropolis, basically, their economy would have fell apart without Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
If you look at him in the Justice League interpretation. Michael Rosenbaum was very much like that, and that's my favorite on-screen Lex Luthor. The movie versions, I can do without. I loved the Superman 1 and 2 with Gene Hackman. I loved it as a kid, but that time has come and gone. So that's my favorite. But getting back to the good and evil, I think there's different degrees. You have some people that are good in the sense where they don't want to see you dead, but they're not going to sit here and be nice to you. Mm-hmm. Then you have people like Superman who believes everybody deserves to be treated with love and respect and care, blah blah blah. And then you have the Batman that's he's good, but Batman is not the nicest guy in the world. Right. Right. Evil, I think, works the same way. You have that spectrum of evil that's pure chaos, doesn't need a reason. Right. Except for reason itself. And then you have evil in a level like Lex Luthor where his agenda, he has an agenda, he has a plan, but still his plan can involve the death of millions of people. It will mean nothing to him.
It's true.
I think it's varying degrees.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're actually pretty right about that. But, I mean, I don't know. I just see something about Lex Luthor that he's a bad dude, and you can say he's evil, but I don't find evil to be part of his thing. He's just so arrogant and blinded by his own statue. Like he tends to do very bad things. It's that rich complex. It's that I'm better than everyone complex. Joker doesn't abide by that. He's a little bit different. But with her, I mean, with Amanda Waller, it was like, you gotta go. Like, there's no reason for you to be alive.
But the funny thing is, it's people like Waller that stop society from falling, which is the amazing thing. Someone as twisted and corrupt as Waller is probably sometimes all that stands in the way of, this country falling into the brink of destruction.
Like, some of the biggest dreamers are the most maniacal, crazy ones.
Well, hell, I mean, you want to take it and talk real life for a second. Adolf Hitler was a complete nut job. A complete nut job.
But
brilliant in a way. But
he was a genius.
And a leader. He had tremendous leadership ability. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was able to literally rally a whole country behind him. Yeah. So a tremendous leader, but unfortunately that leadership was used to evil ends.
Yeah.
And Amanda Waller is very much that same way. She will do anything, and literally she will do anything. She's that person that I think You know, if she had to, she would have no problem taking out that 9mm and shooting a 10-year-old's head off. Like it would, and she wouldn't bat an eyelash at it.
Nope. If it meant to save the country in some way, shape, or form, yeah, she'll offer infant. You know, so yeah, I mean, you know, despite those little things here and there, and some things we would say missed opportunities, a thoroughly fucking enjoyable film through and through. They did a hell of a job. I would like to see what's next. I know because of it, they're spawning a Harley Quinn movie.
You're kidding me.
No shit.
You know what? I'm glad because that means we're getting one step closer to a Joker movie.
Well,
and I would love to see a Joker movie.
Yeah, I mean, look, Batman. All right, Ben Affleck already killed in Batman v Superman. So much so that he showed up here in Suicide Squad. He's in Justice League. He's getting his own movies. That was the point I was trying to make. That he's getting his own movies when he really wasn't gonna get them. You know, it was kind of like, all right, he's part of the Justice League. He's doing all this stuff, but do we need another solo Batman movie? Yes, we do.
Listen, if we can have 20, I think there's 24 Bond movies or 23 Bond movies or something along those lines.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to superheroes, they're timeless. You know, we had Spider-Man as a 20-year-old for 50 years. You know, comic books. Time does not pass in comic books the way it passes in real life, obviously, or all these superheroes would be dead and buried by now.
Right.
There is so much information, so many stories, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking DC or Marvel. There is such a wealth of storylines there that you can make 20 Batman movies. You can make 20 Superman. You can make 30 Avenger movies. You can, as so long as the movies are done well and fans are still interested, but you can keep going and going and going with it.
The problem with films, unlike comic books and stuff, because you can make comic books until you run out of ink or paper. The problem with movies, in the sense that, you know, people are already feeling the superhero fatigue. It's been talked about for quite some time now, and we still go because they've been really good, and even some of the misstepped ones, or you know, according to opinion, you know, still hasn't sullied the drive to go see a superhero movie, but you got to think about it. When you have movies like Batman that's been done before, true, you can keep cranking out these movies, but I understand why you don't. You should take what's best about the character, get that on film, so that more films can be made.
Well, I think,
you know what I'm saying. Like, you just take the best parts of Batman and you put that on the film, and unfortunately, because of technology and time, or even vision, like, it hasn't come out that way. This Batman v Superman is the most accurate depiction of Batman that we have ever received, and even with that, still a departure above who he really is. Because Batman was fucking killing people,
which is something he does not do.
Which is
something he doesn't do. He'll come close. I mean, he'll make you wish you were dead, but he won't actually end your life. And
there's been deaths. They've played deaths on his hands in the comics before, but it was never deliberate.
Yeah, no.
He wasn't taking a car and using it as a freaking giant yo-yo
and just running through and killing people
and just knocking people off the highway. You know, that's not the Batman that's in the comics. That's the Batman we got from the movies. But even with that,
no one is complaining.
And no one's really complaining because he did such a hell of a job. You know what I'm saying? So now we're gonna start to see Batman the way we ought to see him. And this movie felt like the Batman more like the comic than the one we saw in Batman v Superman. So,
definitely, especially the way he gave Deadshot a chance in front of his daughter. There was a scene where
he put out the handcuffs. He didn't fucking off him with a batarang.
There was a scene where he came on to capture Deadshot, and he told him, he said, "Listen, we don't have to do this in front of your daughter." You know, he took him, and then there was a brief tussle, and then there was a point where Deadshot took out his gun, and his daughter gets in front of Batman, and so he puts his gun down, and Batman cuffs him. He doesn't beat him to a pulp.
Right.
He
doesn't brand him.
Doesn't brand him. Doesn't do anything like that. He cuffs him and he leaves him for the cops to take him. Again, that's something more the comic book Batman would have done,
right,
as opposed to the one we saw in the movie where he was branding people who pissed him off.
Very biblical Batman there.
That was Old Testament Batman.
Old Testament.
I think we're dealing with New Testament Batman now. We'll see.
So
we'll see how forgiveness is creeping.
Or this is the Batman that failed him in life. So he's gonna feel honor him in death.
Yeah,
That's the Batman
that's
we
the
have
Batman now. In honor of Superman, he won't brand people anymore.
Yeah.
It's
so,
funny.
yeah.
It's funny. What you were saying about superhero fatigue and everything else. I've heard that said, but I honestly don't think it's a real thing yet. And the reason I don't think
no, because the majority. I mean, look
exactly. If you look at how much, if anything, people want more because these movies keep doing better and better and better financially. So I don't think do I think that there's gonna be a time where they're gonna slow down? Absolutely. You know, there are fads that come and fads that go. Yeah. And I think at some point the superhero movie thing will slow down. But then in a few years it'll pick up again, like James Bond. They've been making James Bond movies
forever.
For like, what, 40 years?
Right.
Or something.
But
and
at the same
they make
token,
a couple, then they stop for years and they don't make
that's
it.
My point.
And then they come back. And I think right now we're in the midst of the superhero movies. And then at some point it'll die down.
Yeah,
at
once we get
through,
like, you gotta think, these are part of the cinematic universe, so they're leading up to these big crossover movies. So, you know, for the Marvel, it's the Avengers. For DC, it's the Justice League stuff. So, we're getting there. And then once all the stories have been told, then I can see them taking a break from it for a little while. Maybe not wholeheartedly. Maybe they'll throw a couple of them down the pipeline just to kind of satiate the superhero need. But for the most part, like, they have an agenda that ends.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? They're not looking past that.
Well, you know, you look at Superman. So how old is Superman? That character goes back to when? What? The 30s, I think?
Yeah, 30s.
40s, maybe?
Yeah.
So you're talking, this character's been around for about 70 years.
Right.
70 years this character's been around. And it doesn't like he's not going anywhere.
Nope.
There are no signs of slowdown. Yes, there'll go many years between Superman movies and it, but it comes back.
Yeah.
It comes back. Now, Marvel has just jumped into the movie, you know, only a few years back did they start jumping into the movie thing. DC jumped into the movie thing before Marvel did. Remember, Superman came out. Batman came out. DC jumped into the movie game first. Marvel just...
Well, yeah,
you know,
I mean... But
Marvel did it better.
Marvel... Well, I mean...
And Marvel did it themselves.
No, because you got to remember, back in the day, DC was better with their movies than Marvel. I mean, look at Spider-Man, look at Captain America, Fantastic Four. And I'm not talking about the up-to-date 2000 versions. I'm talking about the old ones from the 80s and 70s. They were all feature-length films that didn't do shit against a Batman or a Superman or whatever.
Then you had the sci-fi specials like Nick Fury, Agents of... Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
So, terrible.
I mean, you have those. So, I mean, we'll get to superhero fatigue, but it's not now. Right now, we got good movies. And Fantastic Four, the way that shit flopped in 2015, look, if that didn't crash the industry on its head, we're fine.
Yeah, definitely. If that didn't, you know, not only did it, you look at the last crash that it did, look at the first two movies that came out before that were completely horrible. And there's been really bad. Green Lantern was a for shit superhero movie. You know, we've had bad superhero movies before. You know, it's not, you know, the George Clooney Batman. Yeah. You know, Batman and Robin, horrible. There are going to be some turds. There are going to be some bombs. But over the years, and a lot of that's due to the fact that Marvel Comics knows how to do it right. They're doing their own stuff, and they're making it work. So I don't think we're going to be seeing superhero movies go away anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, fuck. We talked more about other shit than we talked about Suicide Squad.
I know, it's terrible.
Fucking Christ. But you know what? Look, it's a good movie. We enjoyed it. I enjoyed it through. It was my second time seeing it. Just, you know, going, I guess, with the expectations you had already, because you'll leave pleasantly surprised, I think. I mean, it was a fun movie.
It was fun. Everybody fit the... My only complaint was Killer Croc. He didn't really fit too well, and I didn't like the fact that they made him speak like some dude from Harlem. He had like this way of talking.
There's always going to be something you like the least about the movie. Look, between him and Slipknot, you know, the two weakest ones. But I mean, that didn't crush it for me. You know, like those are more missteps, I would say, than actual fails. I won't say fails, missteps, because there were things that they could have done better, but they went with what they went with what they did, but it wasn't complete shit. It was enjoyable. So
yeah, no, it was good movie. I enjoyed it. I hope they do a sequel. That'd be great to see a second part to it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to what they're gonna do with Harley and the Joker, and you know what, this movie helped build up some excitement for me for future projects.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to where this is gonna go. But the movie was good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
If there is another Suicide Squad movie to come, I hope everybody reprises the role, including Will Smith. You know, I know that it's difficult. You know, sometimes booking somebody like Will Smith to come in for a sequel. They got so many projects down the pipeline. You know, schedules don't match up. That's part of the reason why he wasn't in Independence Day, because he was doing Suicide Squad. Now, I like to sort of fairy tale that thought a little bit. Like, he knew what kind of shit turd Independence Day was going to be. And he was like, no, fuck that. I got to do Suicide Squad. You know? He's like, I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
Well, I think, you know, Will Smith's been wanting, he's expressed in interviews a desire to want to play out in some superhero movies.
There you go.
You know, he said that in interviews. He said that
it's become a thing now.
It's something he's been wanting. Oh yeah, almost. Who doesn't want to get on that action? Remember, there was a time when actors didn't want to touch superhero movies with a 10-foot pole, and now they're fighting. They're ripping each other's heads off to get in on these movies.
It's almost funny because between Marvel and DC, it's almost like a cash grab. Like, what actor, legendary actor, can we get to play in our movie, right? So Marvel's already been killing it because they've been way ahead of the curve. So they got Rene Russo, they got Anthony Hopkins, they got Tommy Lee Jones, they got some legendary Michael Douglas. Like, the list goes on and on and on of these major characters. Now we're getting Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. Basically, we're getting Tango and Cash too in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I don't even know what to say about that. I don't know if I should cry or cheer. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm fucking ecstatic.
Looking forward to it.
So
I love Tango and Cash. If there was any movie, any 80s or rather early 90s movie that needed a freaking sequel, it was Tango and Cash.
Trust me, I'm still asking for that fucking movie. Again, nobody's here.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen. It's like if you own a PlayStation and you want to see Legend of Dragoon Part 2, it's just never gonna happen.
I'm gonna have to make a fan film.
You're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to make a fan-made game.
Ray Tango and Gabriel Cash.
Yeah, there's some things that are just not gonna happen, man.
Oh man, Tango and Cash sequel. So yeah, I mean, the amount of work that's gone in to get secure these actors and get them to play these parts and have them commit, I think it's an amazing thing. And it'll be a while before we get superhero fatigue, but ride the wave while you enjoy it.
And as a kid who grew up reading comic books and loving comic books and wishing that they could turn this into a real movie, right now I am, as far as movie going goes, I am in a golden age right now. I am on cloud 9. I'm in heaven.
Yeah.
Even the movies that aren't as good as other ones, I'm still glad they made them. Like, listen,
of course,
we can debate Batman, Superman, and other movies and stuff, but I'm still glad they made it. I'm still glad I saw it. I'm glad that I got to live in a time where Batman and Superman shared on-screen time, done by two great actors.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get a Wonder Woman movie. We're gonna get a Justice League movie, and I know we mentioned it before, but I gotta say, damn, that Aquaman looks badass. Yeah, he really does look badass.
Look, I mean,
we got Doctor Strange coming out in a couple of months.
Doctor Strange.
I mean, right now I am just in superhero heaven. Yeah. You know, I'm in heaven. I'm loving this wave, and I'm gonna be a part of it as long as it lasts.
From the big screen to the little screen, superheroes are here to stay. They're not going anywhere, and neither are we. And we're gonna keep tuning in as long as the stories are awesome and engaging, and touch us in a very personal way, special way. So, with that, we leave you. I mean, we talked about going just a half hour tonight. We ended up doing an hour and a half, a little over. So there's not much more we could talk about it. We want you to see the movie and judge it for yourself. We're not critics. We just like talking about this shit. And we hope that you leave the theater with the same enthusiasm that we left with. So big up to DC for crafting a very fun and very well thought out film. You know, like, it's a home run in my book.
Mine also, definitely.
So
can't wait for the next one.
You know, now they're starting to get on track. we can't wait for the next one. So, with that, we're gonna come to a close. I hope this was fun for you.
Oh, it was great. I'm glad we did it.
I'm fucking half dead and tired, but I live for this shit now.
But we love you guys. That's why we do this.
No. All right, it's taking a second to speak, freely about, like, I knew 2016 was gonna be a different year. Like,
I kind of had that feeling too.
Things were just moving in a certain direction that I don't know. And when I started the podcast, I was fuck afraid. Like, I was deeply afraid about what people would think, how they would receive us. And to be honest, we don't have a lot of viewers or listeners. It's still in the grassroots. We're only maybe a little less than 10 episodes in. Maybe 10 episodes. I really don't know at this point. But it's such a part of me now. Like, when we're not doing it, I'm like, all right, when the fuck are we going to do this? Like, look at in this situation where we went we were supposed to go just a half hour, just talking about the movie, went an hour and a half. That wasn't intentional. We just started talking. And the shit is so much fun. So much fun, in fact, that it kick-started, other things that I wanted to do. Just for the fuck of it, get it out there and just share. I got my Creators Corner Creations. I have a thing called 101 that I don't know when I'm going to put it out. I don't know why I haven't done it yet. I'm just kind of saving that right now. So I'll record an episode of 101 and I'll shove it away.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I have poetry that I want to put out. We've spoken about that.
You gotta get on the fucking ball with that shit.
I gotta get on the ball with that, with the poetry book I'm working on. 2016 has to be a year where, I'm 38 years old, and I feel the need to, if I'm gonna make a push to do something big in my life, it has to be now. I don't have all the time in the world.
No. I mean,
it's funny when you're in your 20s, you think you have all the time in the world, and then the 20s go by, and then now you find yourself in your late 30s knocking on 40's door. And you start to realize if something big is going to happen in my life, if I'm going to do something that's going to take me out of the realm of the mundane, everyday, 9 to 5 rat race, then that move has to happen now. So
yeah, you got to go out there. Look.
I'm glad to be doing this. I'm glad to be doing this with my family.
Yeah.
I'm glad that whether it's 10 people listening to us or 100, I hope we entertain you. I hope you enjoy it.
Of course.
And we're going to keep doing this as long as we can. We're going to ride this wave as long as we can. And we're just hoping that this is the beginning of bigger and better things. And whatever it is you guys want to do out there, we hope you do it, and we hope you succeed, and we hope you go on to bigger and better things, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, look, no matter the task, big or small, you have to draw that line on the ground and walk past it. And even if the task is really big, reverse it, go small. Start with the smallest task that eventually leads you to the big task. Because the smallest victory has a way of boosting your confidence, boosting your morale, putting that extra fire. He's like, oh man, I did this, I got this done. It looks great, it looks awesome. Let's get to the next one. So you do that, and doors start to open up for you. Since I started the podcast, things have started to move in motion that I wasn't even prepared for. And that's just bringing positivity to you, bringing positivity to your life, and then getting other people to get in on it and sharing that with them. Like that's an amazing feeling for yourself and for the people that you bring on board. You bring somebody who knows what they know they want to do something good or do something great, but they don't know where to start. They don't know where the platform is. And you show them that platform, and it goes to the fucking moon. So as long as you have that drive, share that drive with other people, because it comes back to you exponentially. So
definitely. Like-minded people have to stick together, because that's how great things happen.
Yeah.
They always say that. A friend of mine says, if you want to hang out with a mechanic, if you want to be a mechanic, you hang out with mechanics, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be a doctor, you hang out with doctors. And the reason they say that is because when you have people in similar mindsets, big things will happen. When you have people that are trying to make moves, be they large or small, and trying to go in the direction of success,
Right.
things will happen.
Yeah.
So long as you put in an effort, things will happen. And on the flip side of that, if you're constantly surrounded by negativity and doubt, then that's all you're ever going to have is negativity and doubt. So it's important. It's important to keep pushing forward. It's important to find people who are on that same wavelength as you.
Yeah.
And feed off of each other and bounce ideas off of each other and grow together and that's how we get better at whatever it is you want to do. That's how we improve, that's how we strive, that's how we share resources.
Mm-hmm.
Like I may have certain resources, you may have certain resources, and together those resources benefit the both of us. And that's the way to grow, that's the way to succeed. Yeah. So all you guys out there, whatever it is you want to do, get with some people who like you, want to do something great, and put your heads together and make it happen.
Yeah. Get rid of the naysayers, get rid of the haters, just follow your dream. As long as you don't step on anybody or shit on anybody to get there, you're fine, man. Just pursue, grind, and let people know that, sometimes I can't give you the attention that you need because I'm trying to accomplish something here. And if you're on board, great. We'll continue to hang out. If you're not on board, then you're just gonna have to be patient till when I do have time. And that's the way you gotta treat it. So with that advice, I'm done. I ain't got more to say. But from the corner, I'm Anthony Cruz.
Nick Portella.
And we'll see you next time on the corner. It's been real. It's been fun. Peace.
Peace.